Hello everyone, we are from Group K5. Today, we will be explaining about the United States' influence in the International Monetary Fund during the Asian financial crisis in 1997 until 1998. Imagine waking up to find that your country's currency is suddenly worth almost nothing. Local businesses are shutting down overnight, and millions of people are losing their jobs. This was the harsh reality of the 1997 Asian financial crisis, one of the biggest economic disasters the world has ever seen. It all began in July 1997 in Thailand. The Thai government could no longer keep its currency, the baht, tied to the US dollar because they were running out of foreign money reserve and facing heavy pressure from global investors. When they let the baht float freely, its value crashed, triggering a massive chain reaction across East and Southeast Asia. Countries like Indonesia, South Korea, Malaysia, and the Philippines were instantly pulled into the economic quicksand. According to official record, the crisis spread like wildfire due to weak supervision of banks, massive amount of short-term foreign debt, and a dangerous reliance on fixed exchange rates. The damage was swift and devastating. Stock market crashed, foreign debt multiplied, and banking system collapsed. To put the numbers into perspective, Indonesia's currency lost a staggering 77.5% of its value against the US dollar. South Korea's currency dropped by nearly 34%, and Thailand's fell by more than 28%. This absolute chaos destroyed investor confidence, sent poverty and unemployment skyrocketing, and caused massive political instability, most notably in Indonesia, where it ultimately brought an end to the long-standing New Order government. Desperate to stop the bleeding, Thailand, Indonesia, and South Korea had no choice but to ask for international help, turning directly to the International Monetary Fund, commonly known as the IMF.
In response to this critical hype, the IMF, alongside the World Bank and the ASEAN Development Bank, stepped in with massive financial relief packages. They provided $70.2 billion to Thailand, $42.3 billion to Indonesia, and a historic $58.2 billion to South Korea. But this life support comes with incredibly strict rules, cannot a structural adjustment program. To get the money, these hurting nations were forced to reform their financial sector, raise interest rates, cut government budget, sell off state-owned business, and completely open their market to foreign investors. While the IMF argued these hard steps were necessary to rebuild market trust, the intervention sparked global criticism. Many experts argue that this strict budget cut and high interest rate actually made the economy downturn much deeper and more painful for ordinary citizens. Furthermore, critics argue that the IMF was not acting as a natural doctor. Instead, its policies were heavily shaped by its most powerful member, the United States. To understand how this happened, we have to look through the lens of a theory called state-centric realism. In international relations, realists believe that global organizations like the IMF do not possess independent power. Instead, they are used as an instrument or proxies by powerful nations to project their own political and economic goals. Because the IMF has zero voting power based on financial contribution, the United States, as the large financial shareholder, holds dominant voting power and a unilateral veto over major decisions. During the 1997 crisis, the intervention was likely directed by top officials in the United States Treasury Department.
Instead of seeing the Asian crisis as a simple shortage of cash, the US Clinton administration blamed it on something deeper: crony capitalism. This means a corrupt system where business success depends entirely on close relationships between corporate leaders and government officials. By framing the crisis this way, the United States had the perfect excuse. They used the IMF to create aggressive programs designed to break down Asia's traditional economic models and replace them with American-style free market systems. Because Thailand, Indonesia, and South Korea had completely run out of money, they had no bargaining power left. They had no choice but to give up a part of their economic sovereignty just to get the rescue funds. Let's look at what happened in South Korea. The IMF package forced the country to open up its financial sector. This allowed foreign investors to buy up shares of Korean companies and banks at incredibly cheap prices. While local Korean firms were fighting just to survive, wealthy American corporations easily stepped in and gained massive access to the Korean market. We see the exact same pattern in Indonesia. The IMF forced the Indonesian government to get rid of local monopolies, cut vital subsidies, and open up major industries to foreign buyers. IMF officials claim these reforms were just to increase efficiency. However, they match perfectly with the broader neoliberal agenda pushed by the United States. And in short, these forced changes brought local economic policies indirectly aligned with American interests by boosting free market power and strictly limiting government control.
The human cost of this externally imposed economic model was severe. In Indonesia, the forced elimination of subsidies and strict fiscal austerity caused widespread poverty, skyrocketing unemployment, and violent social unrest, which ultimately caused the political downfall of President Suharto in 1998. From a realist perspective, this proves how the well-being of weaker nations can be secondary to the geopolitical and economic desire of superpower. East Asia was a vital hub for American trade and global economic stability. By using the IMF to enforce open market policy, the US protected its own strategic interests and reinforced a global capitalist economy that fundamentally advantaged Western nations. However, this didn't mean American power was completely limitless. The United States still had to maintain domestic political consensus and institutional agreement back home to deploy this power. Furthermore, Malaysia provided the alternative option I stated. Malaysia famously rejected IMF assistance just to seat its own strict capital control and achieve a highly successful economic recovery on its own terms. These historical events show that global economic governance is deeply tied to power politics. In conclusion, the 1997 Asian financial crisis was not just a technical financial issue, it served as a clear historical reminder that international organizations like the IMF can function as political tool for powerful nations, ensuring that global economic aid is rarely neutral, but rather a method to keep the world order aligned with hegemonic interests.